I never expected to be in labor in an elevator, but a distress text changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The moment my breath caught in my throat, and panic surged through my veins like icy water. My phone vibrated furiously in my pocket, a message blinking on the screen: help. It was a simple word, yet it unraveled everything I thought I knew. My heart thudded against my ribs, the elevator pinging as it jolted to a stop. I was supposed to be heading to my sister's baby shower, a day filled with joy, laughter, and balloons. But that text, it felt like the universe had shifted beneath my feet. The lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows on the polished metal walls. I pressed my palms against my belly, feeling the heat radiate through my skin. It was as if my body understood the weight of the moment, the urgency curling tight around my insides. I was trapped, alone with my racing thoughts, and the realization that everything could change in an instant. As I slid down to the floor, cold and hard beneath me, I thought of my sister, her big smile lighting up the room. I thought of my mom, her gentle touch, always easing my worries. And my best friend, Lily, her laughter echoing in the background. They were waiting for me, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I reached for my phone, trembling hands unable to hold steady. The signal flickered, desperate and unyielding. "Calm down," I whispered to myself, but my heart betrayed me, pounding like a drum. I wasn't ready for this. The beeping from the elevator panel screamed in my ears, a maddening chorus of panic. Thoughts swirled like a tornado. Who needed help? Who was in danger? The distress in that one word weighed me down. I felt sweat trickling down my back, the air thick and suffocating. Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from above. I jumped, eyes wide, gasping. The lights flickered again, plunging me into darkness for a heartbeat before returning. I could almost hear my heart breaking, pounding against the silence. Was someone else trapped too? What if the danger wasn't just a text away? Fear gripped me, squeezing my chest until I could barely breathe. Then, the pains began. Small at first, just a twinge, but quickly escalating, a tidal wave crashing through me. Oh, God! My body was not just responding to fear. I was about to bring life into this chaos. My breath quickened, my body spiraling into a whirlwind of discomfort. The reality settled deep in my bones, the baby wasn't scheduled to arrive yet. Yet here I was, and everything felt so wrong, spinning out of control. Just then, the elevator jolted, the lights flickering again before settling into a soft glow. I pressed my back against the cool metal, biting my lip to fight back tears. The hum of machinery surrounded me, oddly comforting in the madness. Would anyone know I was missing? Would my sister panic when I never showed up? I imagined her face, framed by that beautiful red hair, worry etched in her features. What if this day turned into a nightmare? With a shaky breath, I composed myself. I needed to think. I thought of the message. I needed to respond. Without hesitating, I typed back, my fingers moving quickly, "Who needs help?" But as I hit send, the screen went black. My heart sank. I was alone in this cramped metal box, the walls closing in on me as surely as the waves of pain racked my body. Then came another thud above, louder this time, shaking the elevator and jarring me deeper into the moment. My heart raced, nerves on fire. Was someone coming? Or were they in trouble too? The silence crept in, filling the void, and I felt small, helpless against the tide of uncertainty. I leaned my head back, closing my eyes, praying for a miracle. Something, anything. I would take relief in any form. But my mind churned with dread. What awaited me on the other side of this moment? And the distress text, it echoed relentlessly in my mind. I had to know who sent it. In this uncertain darkness, my world felt like it was about to crack open. Would I be able to embrace the chaos before me? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The pain surged again, more intense this time, coiling like a serpent around my spine. I gasped, clutching my belly, my breaths coming in quick, shallow bursts. The confines of the elevator felt even smaller now, my reality shrinking with each contraction. I fought the instinct to panic, clenching my teeth as grit replaced despair. A flicker of determination sparked within me. The thoughts of my sister and the celebration we had planned anchored me, but they were woven together with a new urgency. I needed to figure out how to bring my baby into this world, inside the confines of a metallic box that felt like a jail. My heart thundered in my chest as I gritted my teeth, yearning for just one empathetic soul on the other side of that door. The faint sounds of traffic echoed from the outside world, a contrast to the suffocating silence surrounding me. Would they search for me? Would anyone notice I was gone? My thoughts grew heavier with each pang of labor ripping through me. I couldn't let this moment shatter into chaos. I had to find clarity amidst the turmoil. With shaky hands, I reached for my phone once more. Even though the screen was dark, I tried to summon any kind of signal. My fingers danced over the buttons, willing it to life, to offer a lifeline of connection, a voice to soothe my nerves. No bars, no hope. I dropped the device in frustration that echoed back to me in the lonesome clanking of metal and machinery. Just then, I heard a muffled voice. Startled, I pressed my ear against the elevator wall, straining to catch the words. It was faint, almost like music drifting through a distant door. Help please, is anyone there? My breath caught in my throat once more. Had someone else heard me? I yelled back, my voice raw with panic, I'm here. I'm in the elevator. Are you okay? There was a moment of silence, and my heart sank with the weight of uncertainty. Had they heard me? Were they in trouble too? Yes. I'm trapped. I think the voice faltered, a wave of despair creeping in, but then it strengthened. I just need a way out. What's your name, Clara? I shouted, finding comfort in the interaction. I'm due any minute. I think I'm going into labor. There was a pause, and then the voice breathed out a soft, okay, Clara. I'm Daniel. You're not alone. Just hold on. We'll figure this out. Daniel's reassurance cut through my panic like a knife, grounding me in the moment, and while the pain continued to rise and fall, I felt a flicker of something akin to hope. I wasn't in this alone. There was someone else trapped, sharing this wild journey with me. How can I help you? He asked, his voice calm and steady, cutting through the chaos swirling inside me. I am scared, I admitted, the vulnerability washing over me in waves. The tears I had fought to suppress began to spill over. I'm not ready for this. Yes, you are. You've already been brave, Clara. Let's get through this together. His ease helped steady my breathing, a soothing balm in the midst of my pain. We started to trade stories to anchor ourselves to reality. Life before this moment, dreams, little glimmers of joy that reminded us both of what awaited us beyond the elevator doors. I told him about my sister's baby shower, the decorations, the cake design, the laughter that awaited, while he spoke of his daughter's first day of school, excitement bubbling through his words. With each contraction, it felt like we were somehow creating a bond, an invisible thread weaving between our souls. Each pain lessened as we shared our lives, the stories intertwining like ribbons, brighter against the bleakness. But then, a more violent jolt rattled the elevator, and I felt a warmth spreading, an unmistakable sign that time was no longer my ally. Panic crept in again, sharp and unrelenting. Daniel, I gasped, feeling the crushing fear return. I don't know if I can do this without help. I feel something's happening. Clara, stay with me. Just breathe. You're stronger than you know, he urged, his tone unwavering despite the chaos. I heard the determination in his voice, and it made me strive for calm even as the reality crashed in around us like waves in a storm. Just then, the walls of the elevator began to tremble, a deep rumble resounding through the metal. I pressed my palms against the cool surface, eyes wide. What's happening? We're getting some movement. They're trying to get us out, hope renewed within me, but then it faded as quickly as it came when I noticed a flickering light above. It dimmed, the electricity struggling, and I felt a hard thud that jolted the very core of my being. Oh no, please that can't be. Before I could finish the thought, the elevator plummeted, sending my body tumbling against the walls, my scream intermingling with the overwhelming sense of dread. I could feel the weight of reality crashing down, heavy, suffocating. Out of the darkness, Daniel's voice reached out, urgent and fierce. Clara. Hold on. We're going to make it through this. I wanted to believe him, I fought desperately to cling to that thread of hope. But in that moment, staring into the abyss of uncertainty, I realized that this wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the life I brought with me into this chaos. And as the elevator began to descend deeper into the unknown, I braced myself for whatever lay ahead, praying that somehow, I would find the strength to survive this tumultuous descent. The descent stopped suddenly, lurching to a halt that sent a shockwave through my body. I was disoriented, the dim lights flickering defiantly as the emergency bells chimed a chilling tune of despair. Daniel! I cried out, struggling to regain my bearings amidst the chaos. I'm here, he responded, his voice unwavering, but beneath it, I could hear the same edge of fear I felt creeping into my heart. Are you okay? To think so, I managed, though my body betrayed me with every pang and twist. We're trapped. They must have stopped the elevator. A shudder racked my frame, partially from pain, but largely because the gravity of our situation was setting in. Look, Clara, Daniel said, his tone steadying. We can't give up hope. They'll be looking for us. Just keep talking to me. That I nodded, though he couldn't see me. What's it like out there? I asked, desperate to escape the escalating tension in the cramped space. My mind swirled with the weight of all that was unfolding. It's busy. People rushing, cars honking. He painted a picture of life outside those steel walls, a life that felt unimaginably distant, and yet so tantalizingly close. Right before I got stuck, I was on my way to pick up pizza for a surprise dinner for my daughter. We're celebrating her birthday tomorrow. We've got so much planned. His words washed over me like summer rain, and I could almost picture the joyful scene he described. It anchored me momentarily, but then the pain spiked again, sharp and unyielding. I pressed my hand to my belly, gasping as I braced against the wall. Daniel, it's happening. I can feel it, fear mixed with urgency in his voice. Okay, Clara, just breathe. Focus on your breaths. We'll get through this together. I'm right here. Drawing on his comfort, I inhaled deeply, feeling the air fill my lungs, grounding me enough to stave off the rising tide of panic. I shut my eyes, leaning my head back against the elevator wall. Tell me more about your daughter, I urged, seeking escape. She's got this wild imagination. He laughed softly, the warmth in his voice soothing my frayed nerves. Last week, she made a candy fountain out of soda and gummy bears, and convinced her friends she was a scientist conducting an experiment. A smile broke through my pain as I envisioned the scene. He painted his little girl, gleeful and wide-eyed, bringing joy to everyone around her. For a split second, I was transported away from the metal confines and into the safety of his laughter. But as the contraction surged, reality crashed back, and I knew we had limited time. Daniel, I said, my voice trembling. If something happens, if I can't, I need you to promise me something. Anything, he answered, sincerity echoing in his tone. Promise me you'll take care of your daughter. Always be there for her. She'll need you more than ever, I said, my heart clenched with the weight of unspoken fears. That I promise, he assured, but a moment of silence stretched between us, punctuated only by my heavy breaths. And I need you to promise me the same, Clara. That you'll fight for your baby. That you won't give up. That I promise, I whispered. In that moment, I felt something raw and tender connecting us, two souls bound by an unyielding determination to protect what we held dear, despite the darkness swirling around us. But just as I summoned inner resolve, another wave of pain crashed over me, more fierce and relentless than before. I gasped, my body tensing involuntarily. My breath became ragged, and all I could fixate on was the unbearable reality looming around me. Stay with me, Clara. Daniel urged, a desperate plea in his voice. Think about the moment you hold your baby for the first time. How beautiful it will be. Hold on to that. The contraction hit me like a tidal wave, relentless and all-consuming. I felt as if the very walls were pressing in, the air growing thick with desperation, desperately reaching for any shred of strength. Daniel, please, I can't. Suddenly, I felt an unexpected burst of warmth, a tingling rush that enveloped me in a cocoon of clarity amidst the chaos. I gasped, I think it's happening. My heart raced with panic and exhilaration. Clara, listen to me closely. Do you remember what I said about breathing? He directed, his voice a steady anchor in the tempest. Slow breaths. You can do this. As I focused inward, attempting to seize control over my body and the raging storm within, I suddenly felt a distinct pressure, and then realization crashed over me like a waterfall. No, not here. Not now. A powerful wave of despair threatened to overtake me, and as I fought against it, I felt the unyielding grip of reality sinking deeper. An uninvited visitor, but Daniel's voice coiled around me, reminding me of the bond we'd forged in this dire strait. We're going to do this, Clara. I'm right here. Just let go. With his words echoing in my mind, I relinquished the fight for a moment, allowing the instinct inside me to guide my actions. But just as I did, an ominous creak reverberated throughout the elevator, an unsettling reminder that we were still encased in steel, our futures tethered to a lifeline of uncertainty. Clara! Daniel cried, panic edging his voice. What's happening? Before I could respond, the elevator jolted violently, the floor tilting beneath us. The lights flickered erratically, and terror surged anew as sheer gravity threatened to wrench us from our lives. The world was tipping, and with it, all my hopes seemed to dangle on a fraying thread as darkness shrouded every thought I'd clung to. The walls trembled once more, and I knew in that moment, everything would change in an instant, and the color of our fate hung perilously in the balance. The metallic confines resounded with the shriek of tortured machinery as the world tilted, and I could feel a truth breaking through the surface of everything, a revolutionary instinct buried beneath layers of fear. With Daniel's voice wrestling against the cacophony, it resonated louder than the mechanical chaos echoing in the elevator. Clara, hold on to me. Hold on to your baby. He shouted, the urgency in his voice like a beacon amidst an engulfing storm. The contractions painted my reality, each surge a gremlin pulling me into a chasm of despair, as if my body betrayed me at the most crucial moment. Focus, I told myself. I couldn't fall apart now. I couldn't surely allow this to be where it all ended. I can't breathe, Daniel, I gasped, choking back the overwhelming sensations. My vision darkened momentarily as I thought of everything I could lose. You can. You're stronger than this, Clara. Remember the dreams you had. The laughter, the joy. His voice surged with adrenaline, but amid his fervor, I heard his own concern, thick as the smoke shrouding our current reality. Well, bring your baby into the world, I promise. I won't leave you. And just like that, in the midst of rising panic, I felt tethered not only to Daniel's reassurance but to the flame of something else, a will to survive, ignited by the prospect of life beyond this metallic tomb. Racers at the starting gate, my mind conjured images of a radiant sunrise painting our path with hues of hope, bringing us into newfound tomorrows, but then came the echoes of despair, sudden silence outside the elevator, almost haunting. My heart thudded to a hesitant rhythm, and dread seeped through the cracks of my resolve. What are they doing out there? I murmured, panic rising with each passing second. That I am sure someone's working on getting us out, he reassured, but fracture lines spiderwebbed across his words, betraying the uncertainty that festered like a wound. They have to be looking for us. That I in my heart, a voice whispered that our cries for help might be waiting in vain, and I felt the familiar twinge of regret creeping in, settling like lead in the pit of my stomach. Would there even be time to pull this off before darkness extinguished the light? Clara, Daniel pressed, breaking through my spiraling thoughts. Focus on me and tell me about your plans. What would you do next? We needed to shift focus, transform hopelessness into something tangible. Desperate for survival, I clung to the visions I had painted along with dreams that dripped life back into my core. I've always wanted to take my baby to that seaside cottage my grandparents owned. The one with the rickety porch and wildflowers. I wanted it to be filled with love and laughter, I breathed, grasping at those fragile threads, weaving hope against the looming darkness. Yes. And the beach days. Build sandcastles, explore the tide pools, find shells, Daniel continued, his voice an ever-present lullaby urging me away from the bleak landscape that threatened to swallow us whole. With his encouragement, I imagined sweet giggles and the fragrant bloom of summertime air surrounding us, a moment where laughter could reign. Yet, as I pictured that family future, an alarm blared ominously in the base of my mind, smashing through the fragile fabric we had built. But what if I don't get to see that? What if we don't get out of here? Don't, he replied sharply, steel slicing through the airy melancholy encasing us. We are getting out of here, Clara. I promise you that, just like I promised to honor my daughter's birthday. Each moment is vital. Don't you give up hope. The breath surged deep within me, and I could almost envision the warmth of sunlight cascading down on my skin, mixing with the laughter that would ring like bells on a summer morning until a violent jolt broke the spell. My body shook harder against the metal wall, and all thoughts of sunlight fled as I gasped in pain. This one is different, Daniel. I can't. Just hold on, okay? Identify the pressure. Focus on the sound of my voice. He urged, unyielding in his resolve. Suddenly, the hum of machinery outside came alive again, resonating through the hissing tension, but not without a dissonant vibration that left me gasping, and then, like rolling thunder, another weight pressed down, folding my body as I felt a sudden contraction pulse through me. It heralded a pain that broke reality, fueling an urgency no amount of mental contemplation could churn. It really is happening. I could sense the unrelenting panic threading through my veins, while Daniel's voice softened but burned with unwavering fervor. Clara, listen. They're here. I can hear them. Keep breathing, just focus on your breaths. You have to trust me. The sound of shuffling, muffled voices outside, a discordant symphony clashing against the sharp notes of our current despair. It felt like a distant echo of life stirring anew. Suddenly, a voice broke free from the noise, crisp and clear. Is anyone in there? Daniel's grip seemed to tighten against the turbulence inside me. Clara, that's them. We have to respond. I don't know if I can, I whimpered, as another wave of contraction rolled through me, riding on a crest of agony. Listen. He said desperately, they're waiting, Clara. You have to let them know you're here. Please. And in that moment, in the sacred tension that throbbed through the air, I felt the flicker of hope burning in my heart, urging me to be brave. The outside world was aware I would not be lost in this abyss. Summoning every ounce of strength I had left, with a voice trembling yet clear, I screamed, yes. We're here. Please help us. As hope surged, the world cracked wide open before me, revealing a moment that was both uncertain and fraught with the gravity of impending life. The moment hung, and then suddenly, the world fell silent around us, an eerie tension enveloping me, as the realization set in, what awaited us beyond the doors could change everything, and I grasped tightly to Daniel, fear and exhilaration mingling in an unexpected dance. The moment stretched on, suspended in that uncertain silence, pregnant with unspoken fears and the anticipation of what lay beyond the confines of the elevator. My heart beat erratically, a clumsy drummer echoing against the metal walls, and I clung to Daniel's gaze, searching for strength, hoping he would somehow shield me from the storm swirling within. Yet that stillness shattered, a raucous clamor breaking through as a rescue team, their voices haywire with urgency, rushed to our side. Can you hear us? We're trying to get you out. Just hang on. Someone shouted, the distinct timbre of authority infused with worry. My breath hitched. They were coming, but would they be in time? Clara, Daniel whispered, spotting the flicker of fear behind my eyes. You have to focus on what's happening to your body. We can get through this together. Desperation and exhilaration waged war within me as another wave of pain crashed over me. Feeling the weight of impending motherhood, I realized I had two lives clashing in a single moment: my own strong will to fight and the fragile life growing inside me. It tore at the fabric of my resolve as a silent scream lanced through my lungs: "Just breathe." He coached, his hand steady against my heaving frame, a steadfast buoy amid the raging sea. But how could I focus on breathing when my body felt like a battleground, surrendering to a primal force driving me closer to an inevitable reckoning? I don't think I can do this, I lamented, tears coursing down my cheeks. Fear coursed anew, mingling with uncertainty. Would we really make it? My strength seemed to bleed away, retreating into the shadows, taunting me with the specter of failure. "You can and you will," Daniel affirmed, his voice steady, a lighthouse illuminating the way through my tempestuous heart. "Think of our baby, Clara. Imagine holding them, singing lullabies, sharing stories. No storm can take away our future unless you let it. Together, well, hold on to love." Holding close to his words, I envisioned a future where laughter would wrap around us like a warm embrace, the dream of that love-filled cottage unfurling in my mind. My heart felt lighter as I imagined our baby wrapped snugly in blankets, the giddiness of exploring tide pools and building castles dancing before my eyes. "I want that, Daniel. I want to see our baby, then fight for it," he urged, watching the flicker of determination ignite in my spirit. The pain surged once more, twisting my body, but a gravelly voice interjected through the portal separating us from salvation. "We're breaking through. Hold on, just a few more seconds." Cries of encouragement reverberated, a cacophony of hope mingling with the dreadful premonitions tying knots in my stomach. With a surprising burst of energy, I nodded, my mind reaching for that precious prize we dared imagine. "I'm going to try. I'm going to do this." Open your heart to the pain, let it guide you. You're closer than you think. Daniel's eyes radiated fervor as he bore witness to the strength I had momentarily forgotten, and so I did. I channeled every last trace of resolve, surrendering to the pain with a practiced simplicity, allowing each surge to call forth the life growing within me. It was both liberating and terrifying, the edge of creation mingling with grief for the trials we had weathered. My aspirations tangled with my fears but were held together by an infinite thread of hope: just a little more. "You're so close." Daniel's fervor rang through the chaos, a melody wrapping around my heart. I could feel the electric pulse of anticipation thrumming beneath my skin. Thundering breaths propelled me forward, desperation transforming into ferocity. As cries of urgency reverberated outside, the wrench of metal upon metal filled the air, and soon, blinding lights flooded in. The door was giving way, sunlight spilling into our secretive haven. My eyes blinked at the new reality igniting, but before I could fully grasp it, a blinding wave of pain directed my focus inward once more. "I can feel them, Clara. You have to push now." Daniel's voice, a grounding force against the impending chaos, moved me to action. Every ounce of fear dissipated, shifting into a fierce drive. In one swift movement, I pushed, grasping at that thin yet luminous thread binding my heart's deepest desires to the fringe of reality. With every shout of encouragement and urgency, I could hear my own heart thundering in my ears. I was on the precipice of witnessing a miracle, perhaps even a moment that could rewrite our fate. The sounds, the light, the chaos around me filled the void, and I dug deeper, believing there was magic in this pain. Then an abrupt crash resounded, the elevator doors throwing open, revealing the faces of the rescuers, eyes wide with shock but bursting with determination. Yet there was something else. Fear crossed with compassion, a storm I didn't fully comprehend until it settled around us. "Clara, they're here. Don't stop." Daniel shouted urgently, his hands never leaving me. I was battling against time, destiny, and the storm of emotions entwining my heart with urgency. But as I blinked into the blinding light, life shifted around me with an unexpected turn. "Clara." One of the rescuers stepped closer, their face pale. We have to talk, but right now it's critical you focus. Please." Panic seized me as more questions rippled through the air, tangling my heart in threads of confusion. What was beyond that Dora standard rescue or something far more profound? But as another wave of pain surged through me, I had no choice but to respond. The true reality lingered in that chaotic space, waiting to reveal itself, as I thrust my body against the fear the storm roared, and I pushed once more, desperate to grasp at the flicker of hope hanging just beyond reach. The light was blinding, yet within the flutter of chaos, I could almost hear the fragile whirring of life. The unfamiliar faces of the rescuers became a blur, but Daniel's voice cut through, anchoring me as I navigated the tumultuous reality pulling taut around us. Focus on us, Clara. Just keep breathing. I can't. What do you mean you have to talk? The words tumbled out, laced with concern. The stranger's expression told me something terrible lurked just below the surface, but the urgency of the moment overwhelmed any fleeting fears. The urgency of birth displaced all thoughts of the unknown ahead. Another surge roared through me, a tidal wave of pain that forced surrender, and I screamed. The rescuer, who I later learned was named Sam, stepped forward, hands raised. Clara, listen. We're here to help, but you need to know your family. The words hung in the air, like a stone cast into still water, sending ripples of worry through my heart. Are they? I managed, mid-contraction, thoughts racing, struggling to piece together a coherent thread amid the clamor. Just focus on your baby. Sam's voice echoed like a distant chime, almost muffled by the sound of my own heartbeat and Daniel's repeated encouragement as he brushed stray hair from my face, but the question hung heavy in the air, threading deeper anxiety into my veins, tightening like iron bands around my chest. This fear gnawed at me. Something was wrong. But the physical labor I faced now overshadowed everything, forcing clarity out of desperation that I can't let go. I shouted, as another wave of pain rippled through my body, tearing my focus from the impending storm of worry that swirled around us. I engaged with the moment. The sound of Daniel's encouragement anchored me, a grounding force in a world that twisted and turned and slipped through my fingers like sand. You can do this, Clara. You've come so far. He exclaimed, his confidence igniting a flicker of light within the darkness of uncertainty. I drew courage from his unwavering faith. This was my child, our child, and the union of our love. Just a bit more, Clara. Push. His voice was an incantation, urgent and raw, urging me onward. With every ounce of strength I possessed, I surrendered to the crashing waves, the essence of creation pulling me under, and just as despair threatened to set in, a burst of laughter, soft yet resolute, echoed from somewhere beyond the blinding light. Skeins of hope wove their way through my heart as I envisioned our child mischievous and bright, giggling while building an imaginary world of infinite joy. Even in the bleakest of places, caught in that powerful vision, I pushed again, emboldened, nearly tasting the sweetness of what lay just beyond this storm. You're almost here. I can feel it. Daniel's voice surged with vitality, his presence a robust force I yearned to cling to. The rescuers intensified their efforts, the cacophony of tools and voices swirling together, and for a moment, I became aware of the fleeting beauty in their urgency. Compassion radiated from them, fueling the charge of my own journey, stirring a craving for connection with the world outside the confines of our tiny sanctuary. Perhaps they understood, perhaps they had faced their own storms, and as I leaned into the agony, the final push erupted from the depths of my being, guttural and primal, the sound weaving through the chaos, echoing my conviction. In that moment, I broke through the barrier between fear and hope, the light piercing the darkness once and for all, and then, silence. One heartbeat stillness, then suddenly the world plunged forward anew. A tiny, precious cry filled the space, a sonorous yet delicate announcement of life breaking forth amidst turmoil. In an instant, I was a mother. My heart expanded with joy, overwhelming the darkness that had pulled at me moments before. Is it? The question hung unvoiced in the space between reality and dreams, anticipation fluttering like wings against my ribs. Daniel's eyes shone with brilliance, cheeks dampened by the tears of joy cascading down his face. Carefully, the rescuers moved around, one of them cradling a swaddled form, delicate and fragile, yet impossibly strong, holding air full of raw emotion. Congratulations, came a gentle voice, lifting my veil of worry. Yet as the rescuer stepped closer, my heart sank. the previous moment fading as looming shadows echoed back at meth. Truth in Sam's eyes was unyielding, a quiet fear I hadn't fully understood until now trifled with the new sense of joy clinging to my heart like dew on grass. Clara, the weight of his voice pressed on my chest with gravity. We need to talk. It's about your family. In an instant, reality swirled once more, the air thick with a new fear as the joy of my newfound motherhood collided violently with the unfathomable unknown. I grasped at the realization that the world I'd just entered was painted with colors I hadn't expected, and the laughter curdled into uncertainty, leaving behind an unexpected revelation waiting to unfold, and within the echoes of that little cry, I felt the tremor of calamity lurking just at the edge of my joyous shift that could alter everything. Glimmers of hope flickered about me like tiny stars against the heavy backdrop of dread. As I cradled the warmth of my newborn against my chest, a wave of maternal instinct surged through me, laced with the longing to shield my child from whatever lay beyond this confined space. But Sam's solemn expression was a cruel reminder that in this moment of joy, uncertainty shadowed every heartbeat. Just a moment, Clara, he continued, his voice an anchor even as it threatened to drag me underwater. I wanted to scream at him to stop, to let me bask fully in this ephemeral joy before the truth crashed down upon me. I glanced at Daniel, who held our baby with a mixture of awe and disbelief, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. In his gaze, I found the strength to face the encroaching storm. What's wrong? I whispered, overwhelmed. The comforting weight of our child in my arms stood in stark contrast to the intangible threat tugging at my heart. Your family, they've been in an accident, Sam whispered, his kind eyes narrowing, searching for understanding in mine. But it's complicated, and we need to get you to safety first. No, I gasped, the word coming out fractured with disbelief. How could this be happening? I felt time freeze, elongating the moments into a cascade of dread that burned through my body like wildfire. What do you mean, an accident? Where are they? Daniel took a careful step toward me, cradling our son, but I could see his own worry mirrored on his face. Clara, take a breath. We'll figure this out, he murmured, his voice trembling as my world fractured around me. I shook my head violently, trying to dislodge the ice clamping down on my heart. No. My mom, my sister. They were supposed to be at the hospital. The frantic questions poured out of me, spilling into the chaos of the moment. Why am I just hearing this now? What happened, please? The weight of Sam's voice hung in the air between us, heavy with a gravity that pushed back against the swirling emotions. Just let me explain. The accident occurred a few blocks away. It's still unfolding. Emergency responders are on the scene, but we need to prioritize your safety right now. I couldn't make sense of his words, reality slowly drifting beyond my grasp. How could I think of myself when danger lingered just an arm's length away from my family? I felt primal instinct kick in, fisting my hands into a ball at my sides, knees beginning to tremble. I can't leave them. I sobbed, the pain of newfound motherhood now colliding cruelly with the possibility of loss, feelings that felt too vast to encapsulate. Daniel stepped closer, offering the baby, but something in his expression held me at bay, his jaw clenching in a way that made tears well in my eyes. Clara, we have to trust the team. Trust? My voice cracked, pulsing with fear. How could he expect me to surrender to trust when there was nothing stable to hold on to? I should have been the one to protect this life, the one to shield my baby from heartbreak. And yet, amidst the raging torrent of my emotions, something flickered outside those dark clouds. I glanced at Sam, who stood by, his presence not dismissive or cold, but quietly firm, offering me a lifeline even if the storm still brewed within. Clara, we're here for you. You're safe, and you will be taken care of, he repeated softly, as if affirming the battle against despair. With a surge of clarity, I understood that though I was caught in a storm of sorrow, I didn't have to face it alone. I could see the compassion etched on Sam's features, the way Daniel's trembling body radiated a fierce determination to stand by me. The thought that somehow through whatever calamitous nightmarish twist had gripped my family there remained a connection, a thread still binding us together. Suddenly, within that tangled mass of uncertainty lay small embers of solidarity that dared to flourish. I felt a kind of flicker in the battering dark, please," I pleaded again, desperation underlining my request. "If there's any news I want to know. No matter how hard it is." Sam nodded, the dappled light swirling in his gaze catching something resolute. "I promise." With that one small vow hanging between us, the enormity of the moment shifted beneath my feet. The blinding reality had yet to settle, my life still danced on the edge of a knife that threatened to cut deeper. We waited together in silence that felt abundant, though every tick of the clock heightened my anxiety as the world raced ahead without me. Then, unexpectedly, the sound of my phone buzzed in my pocket, startling us all. I fumbled to retrieve it, heart racing. Whoever it was could bring news, could bridge the chasm that opened further with every second that crept by. When I saw the name illuminated across the screen, the blood drained from my face. It was a text from my sister. The screen glowed, vibrant against the muted chaos around me, each word poised to deliver either joy or devastation. "Clara, I need you to know." A chill swept over me, fingers trembling as I held the device. In the echo of silence, I could almost hear the collective breath of both Daniel and Sam, as if time itself were waiting on the precipice for what I was about to uncover. With a swift inhale, I pressed my thumb against the screen, the final act unraveling the fabric of my reality. The screen illuminated my face with a cold blue glow, my heart drumming a frantic rhythm as I read the words. The text from my sister, Jenna, hovered in front of me, each letter pulling me deeper into uncertainty. "Clara, I need you to know." I barely registered the rest as my mind raced with possibilities. My eyes darted up to Daniel, who watched me with an intensity that mirrored my own trepidation. "Read it," he urged gently, but I hesitated. The world outside felt like it spun on its axis, a deep chasm yawning beneath me. "I can't. What if it's bad?" My voice was barely a whisper, chilled by the weight of fear. "With everything happening, we need to know," Daniel replied, his voice steadier now, an anchor in this relentless tide. Fighting the instinct to recoil, I swiped to unlock the text, and the words tumbled forth, sending a surge of cold clarity through me. "We were in a minor fender bender, but all is okay." It felt surreal, the relief and anguish tangled into one great mess. Did she not know how horrifying it was to receive news about an accident, even a minor one? My mind spiraled with alternative realities, the worst scenes painted in agonizing detail, but then, the next line sunk like a stone. "Mom and I are safe, but I want you to know what happened next. Please call me." The dissonance was nearly overwhelming. They were okay, yet a new sense of dread trickled in, suddenly present and suffocating. "Clara?" Sam's voice broke through my fog. The kindness in his eyes urged me to connect the disjointed pieces of this message. "They're safe," I managed to whisper, almost disbelieving the words. A sigh mixed with relief and dread escaped my lips. "But she wants me to call. She said there's something more." Before the fear could overtake the brief reprieve, I felt a wave of urgency. Jenna must have known something that contradicted the initial calm in her text. "Call her," Daniel urged, instinctively leaning into me, our baby nestled between us as if reminding us of our duty to shield him from the chaos outside. I nodded, resolutely. The button to call felt weighty beneath my fingertips, yet I hesitated. What if her words painted a more terrifying picture? Shaking my head, I accepted the challenge, dialing with trembling hands. The call connected, the ringing each second marking the beat of my heart. I felt exposed, raw, hanging in this tether between worlds, the one where my family thrived and the one where tragedy shadowed my existence. "Clara?" Jenna's voice burst through the speaker, a complex mix of fear and relief. "You're okay. You got my message?" "Yes, but what do you mean there's more?" I couldn't help but rush the words out, every syllable tinged with anxiety. There was a hitch in her breath, the silence dragging painfully. "I don't want you to worry, but it was more than a fender bender for Dad. He's in the hospital now, undergoing tests." My heart sank, the news unfurling like heavy lead against my chest. "Tests? Is he?" I couldn't voice the possibility of something worse. "He's stable," but her voice broke, each pause tightening the twist in my stomach. "There was a disruption when the accident occurred. A vehicle seemed to be tailing us, like they were speeding. Mom and I couldn't see who it was, but it felt wrong. Those chilling words settled in my bones, igniting a fresh distress. Who would want to chase down my family? Instinct pulled me tighter against Daniel and our child, a silent promise to protect them. A disruption. What does that mean? It means, Jenna faltered, then continued with hesitance, that we need to look into it. There was police. They think it could be connected to something larger, something beyond just an accident. I didn't want to mention it until I knew you were okay, something larger. My world narrowed down to that phrase, reverberating within the walls of my mind like a tolling bell. As much as I wanted to find comfort in my sister's reassurance, a new layer of danger unspooled. That IS Mom with him? I asked, breathless. Yes. Clara, please. Just come to the hospital once you're able. I need you. We need you. It's so much to digest, but we'll figure it out together. The words hung in the air, the tether to my family, both a lifeline and an anchor. They needed me, yet here I was, trapped in this moment of uncertainty. It'll be there, I promised, my voice firm though my heart ached with the weight of the unknown. As I concluded the call, I felt Daniel squeeze my hand gently, grounding me again. There was something profound in the look he exchanged with Sam, an unspoken understanding that this moment was only the beginning of chaos unraveling. Are you okay? Daniel asked softly, concern now ghosting over his expression. That I looked at the baby cradled in his arms, feeling the gentle pulse of new life against the backdrop of rising dread. No. I don't know. Not really. The front lines of the storm had only just rolled in, and yet a glimmer of resolve flickered inside me. But I will be. We all will. My sister had opened a door of possibilities, yet behind it lingered shadows that had been awakened. As I gazed beyond Daniel into the unknown, I realized we were standing on a threshold, the fabric of safety fraying before us. The buzzing of my phone served as an interruption again. This time it wasn't Jenna. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize. Keep your family close. They are not safe. The storm is coming for you all. Trust no one. The word sent a shiver down my spine, a weight that pushed heavily against my chest. I froze, eyes widening in horror as I locked onto Daniel, the tension creasing the air between us, heavy and suffocating. A storm I never saw approaching. The elevator jolted to an abrupt stop, the lights flickering like the pulse of my racing heart. I leaned against the cool steel wall, my breaths coming faster now, almost frantic. The text from the unknown number flashed in my mind, keep your family close. They are not safe. It felt like a chant, a warning echoing through me. Daniel pressed the button repeatedly, but the elevator remained stubbornly stuck. Panic clawed at my chest, and I glanced at him, the fear mirrored in his eyes. It will be fine, he said, though his voice was strained. Just a minor glitch, I'm sure, but I felt the weight of secrets buried and the storm brewing beyond our walls, threatening to engulf us. This isolated space felt suddenly claustrophobic, the walls closing in around me, the air thick with unsaid fears and the impending weight of responsibility rolling in like waves. Clara, he said softly, catching my gaze. There was a beacon of calm in his presence, a rock in the sea of despair that swirled inside me. What's going on? What did Jenna say? The elevator yielded no opportunities for distraction as the truth spilled out in jagged pieces. Dad's in the hospital. Something's not right. A car was following them, and now. It was difficult to voice the fear resting in my throat. Someone is threatening us, Daniel. I don't know who to trust. Daniel's jaw tightened, and his body shifted closer to mine, creating a barrier between me and the unknown, both physically and emotionally. We'll face this together. You're not alone, okay? Let's just get to the hospital. That's all we need to focus on right now. That he reached for my hand, and just as I felt the warmth of his touch seep reassurances into my trembling core, the lights flickered again, and the elevator lurched back into life, taking us slowly downwards. We exchanged a fleeting glance before the doors peeled open, revealing the chaotic corridor beyond. The hospital hummed with agitated energy, nurses moving briskly and patients navigating the labyrinth of uncertainty. My heart raced at the thought of my family tucked within these walls, vulnerable and fighting against the threats that now loomed like ominous clouds. I fought against the dread, knowing I had to stay focused for them. "Let's go," I said, urgency creeping into my voice, and Daniel followed me in a determined stride. Each turn we took heightened my senses, breaths punctuated by the smell of antiseptic and the sounds of labored breaths echoing in the distance. As we reached the waiting area, my gaze landed on Jenna, her face illuminated by a halo of worry. She stood up as we approached, her eyes brightening a fraction but shadowed with fatigue. I reached out, wrapping my arms around her, pulling her into a hug that felt like a desperate promise, an unspoken vow that we would confront this together. "Clara, I'm so glad you're here," she whispered, her voice laced with relief as we broke apart. Yet, I couldn't shake the haunted look that danced behind her eyes. "Where's Mom? And Dad?" The questions tumbled out, urgent and tinged with fear. "Dad's getting tests done. Mom's with him," she replied, her hands wringing at the hem of her sweater. "Clara, there's something I haven't told you." My heart fell as the weight of her seriousness pressed around us. "What is it?" "There were things the police didn't tell us." "Not yet. They're conducting an investigation into the incident, and I overheard them mention a suspect." She paused, glancing around as if the very walls themselves had ears. "Someone connected to something my mind can't even grasp yet." That I could feel the chill run down my spine once more, the implication hanging between us. "What do you think it is?" "I don't know, but I think it might be worse than what we're imagining." She bit her lower lip, eyes shining with unshed tears punctuated by fear. In that moment, a nurse approached us with a kind expression, yet her presence only served as a crescendo to the chaos enfolding us. "Jenna? Clara?" she began, glancing at the clipboard tangled firmly in her grasp. "Your father is in recovery, stable, but they're keeping him for observation a while longer. Your mother is still with him." That I felt a mixture of relief and dread wash over me. "Can we see him?" Jenna asked, hope creeping back into her voice, but my heart sank in sync with the nurse's nod. "Right this way." The nurse led us down a corridor that felt like a labyrinth, each beat of my heart amplifying the tension in the air. We rounded the corner into a small room, and there was my father, frail yet alive, the steady beeping of machines underscoring his vulnerability. "Hey, you're here," he greeted weakly, attempting a smile that was more a shadow of his former self. I rushed to his side, taking his hand, squeezing tightly as warmth flowed between us. "How are you feeling?" I asked, my voice a whisper, but his face grew serious. "I'm not sure, Clara. The doctors are worried and there's something I need to tell you," he said carefully, raising his eyes to meet mine, but before he could continue, another explosion of tension darted through the room as a shadow darted past the glass door, something that shouldn't have been there. My breath caught, a creeping dread flooding my senses. "What was that?" I whispered, fear tightening its grip around my chest. As if in response, a voice sliced through the air, a low mutter just outside the door. "I hope she doesn't find out." I locked eyes with Jenna. We heard it too, the undercurrents of a plan set in motion, something dark and dangerous creeping closer, lacing our world with shadow as we stood there, frozen, tethered to the horror that had just revealed itself. "Clara, we need to get out of here," Daniel said urgently, stepping forward, but I felt my feet rooted to the spot, a terrified mix of confusion and resolve clouding my mind. What were we up against? And how deep did the darkness run? In that moment, every heartbeat felt like a countdown, my mind racing as I grappled with the reality of our situation. I wanted to lament the uncertainty of it all, but there was no time for that now. The shadows that loomed beyond the door became the embodiment of something far more sinister than I had prepared for. I could almost taste the fear in the air, a metallic tang that clawed at my throat. "Clara?" My father's voice pierced through my thoughts, brittle and fragile, echoing against the sterile walls. "I need you to listen to me. It's important." He tried to sit up, resolve flickering in his weary gaze. "You all need to be careful. I didn't want to trouble you, but if Dad, we're already tied up in this, just tell me," I urged, desperately grasping onto his words amidst the rising tide of panic. The flicker of something dark danced in his eyes, a storm of emotions raging just beneath the surface. There are people looking for us. They know about the accident. And if you don't act quickly, panic set in, surging through me with the ferocity of a tidal wave. What do you mean, looking for us? Who? But even as I asked, I felt the skin on my arms prickle, the air thickening with a sense of urgency. A shadow swept again past the glass door, and I shook off the apprehension that threatened to gnaw at my resolve. Determination burned in my gut, igniting a fire deep within my spirit. There was still light somewhere in this darkness, and I wasn't ready to surrender. Listen, I said, stepping toward my father while trying to remain calm. We need a plan. Whatever is going on, we'll face it together. Daniel's presence beside me felt fortifying as he met my gaze, his eyes a mirror reflecting equal parts resolve and fear. There was something sacred in that exchange, a silent promise that we'd stay anchored, that we wouldn't be swept away in the storm. And no matter what happens, we'll protect each other. We deserve to find the truth, I murmured, my voice steady. Yes, Jenna chimed in, fists clenched with determination. We'll face this family drama head-on. Whatever it is, it won't divide us. If someone is targeting us, we need to stay united, always. My father's eyes flickered with uncertainty, yet the confidence in our voices seemed to rouse something within him, a flicker of hope igniting his spirit. Just then, there was a sharp knock at the door, the kind that echoed ominously in the stillness, vibrating through the very walls of our sanctuary. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, as if sensing the weight of something ominous. Is everyone in there? The voice was gruff and unyielding. Yes, I called out, the word feeling like a challenge in the face of uncertainty. What do you want? The door swung open, revealing a uniformed officer who regarded us with a mixture of authority and concern. I'm sorry, folks. We need to evacuate the building immediately. An unsettling sense of urgency pulsated through me, the adrenaline rushing back. Evacuate? Why? There's been a breach. We believe an individual connected to the incident is targeting your family. A shiver of dread coursed through me, cold and claustrophobic, but before I could vocalize my fear, Daniel stepped closer, wrapping a reassuring arm around my shoulders. Take us with you. We need to protect my family. Right now, your safety is our highest priority. We need to move immediately, the officer urged, glancing back over his shoulder, as if anticipating ominous footsteps to emerge from the shadows. Wait, we can't just leave without Mom and Dad. Jenna interjected, anxiety creeping into her tone, making it tremble with urgency. Your mother is still in the recovery wing, and your father is still here, the officer assured us. Our team will handle them. Your safety comes first. In that moment, everything hung precariously in the balance, and fear settled heavily in my chest. I looked up at my father, whose eyes softened with love and perhaps a hint of fear. Clara, go. His voice was steady, yet tinged with concern. You have to promise me you'll keep everyone safe. I will, I whispered, locking eyes with him, my own heart heavy with an unspeakable dread of what lay ahead. As I prepared to move, Daniel gripped my hand tightly, grounding me. In the chaos, our small unit was whisked away down the corridor, the officer leading the way. Closer we drew to the hallowed halls bustling with activity, life thrumming in unexpected moments amidst the fear. But as we exited toward the emergency exit, everything changed. The world outside was awash in chaos, the sky deepening to stormy gray, signaling a tempest both in the air and within. Outside, a wave of humanity rushed past us, panic radiating from the faces' blurring mists. I couldn't place them, their fears resonating loudly, clawing at my insides as the officer ushered us onto a waiting transport vehicle. Get in, he urged, and as we climbed into the back, the unease of our reality unfolded in dramatic scenes, a swirl of frayed nerves and uncertainty. As the engine roared to life, I felt a surge of desperation tighten its claws around my heart. What about Mom? I cried, the anguish threatening to shatter the tenuous threads of courage weaving around us. They'll get her out, Daniel assured firmly, without hesitation, but I could still feel the impending worry poised at the edges of his words. What if it was never that easy? What if this was merely the surface being scratched, with a reality yet to unveil its true colors? As the vehicle sped away, our minds raced unsure of what awaited us. I glanced down at the tiny life nestled in my arms, gasping softly, and the instinct to protect him surged within me. In that moment, there was only one certainty in this tempest: whatever awaited us on the other side, I would fight with everything I had to shield him, to safeguard this newfound love. But just as I thought we were enveloping an escape, a sudden jolt shot through the vehicle, a screeching halt in the cacophony surrounding us. Time froze as chaos pierced the air. A shattering noise exploded outside, the unmistakable sound of gunfire. Fear crashed over me like an engulfing wave, and I instinctively pulled the baby closer, shielding him from the world outside. Suddenly, everything was illuminated, the truth gleamed bright against the tumultuous darkness. The shadows that had danced around us weren't merely figments of our imagination. They had manifested, taking form in the chaos now brewing outside our protective cocoon. "Stay down!" the officer shouted, gun drawn, as panic ensued. But even amidst the rush, I sensed the flicker of hope resonating gently. I had entered this chaos not knowing the true layers entwined within my family's love, and now it became something greater. For even as shadows crept closer, as the world threatened to engulf us whole, I felt something unreeling, the burning flame of my own resilience igniting, the legacy of this moment destined to be painted with the strokes of love, courage, and family. I held my breath, untethered among the chaos, as decisions turned into actions, and just as despair threatened to consume, I understood this moment would define us. Together, we could weather this storm. Together, we would rise from the ashes. "I love you all," I whispered through the fear, and in those words, I found strength. Just then, the officer turned to me, eyes fierce with determination. "Listen to me now, whatever happens next, you need to trust each other. We are going to fight back." And as that fight surged through us, I also realized that courage doesn't scatter in the face of uncertainty, it finds its way home, igniting even greater flammesa unison of love, a bond woven through the crucible of adversity. With every heartbeat echoing laughter and cries, we embraced the storm, our shared resolve lighting the way forward, and in that tenuous moment, I understood that the ember of hope within my heart would endure no matter the nights we faced ahead. And with a breath full of love and determination, I stepped into the cauldron of Lithia raw, imperfect dance and whispered the words that would shape our future: "Whatever comes next, we rise again."